You didn't stay quiet because you're generous. You stayed quiet because being the easy one is the only thing you're sure you're good at. And here's the part nobody warns you about. You'll defend that silence like it's a virtue, right up until it becomes the only language you know. You know that feeling when the world hands you the smallest possible problem and your whole body treats it like a live wire? 9:20 on a Saturday morning, a grocery store that smells like refrigerated air and floor wax. Emma is walking the short stretch from the register to the automatic doors, one thin plastic bag in her left hand, a receipt curling in her right. The rubber mat sighs under her sneakers. Cold air pushes in from the entrance, meeting the store's warmth in a soft, invisible seam she is about to stand inside of for a very long time. Nothing is wrong here. That's what she'll tell herself. She's 6 steps out when the number finally lands. Really lands, the way a word you've read 100 times suddenly looks misspelled. $4. Charged twice. A mistake so small it barely qualifies as one. And watch what her body does with it. Not what a normal body would do. It doesn't turn around. It slows. The doors open for her. She doesn't walk through. They wait, sense her stillness, and slide shut again. The mechanism clacking softly, patient in a way she is not. She takes 1 step back toward the register. 1. Then her feet plant themselves on the mat, like the tile turned to wet cement. And the second step, the one that would actually finish the motion, never comes. She is now a person facing backward, going nowhere. A body caught mid-sentence. Have you ever stood exactly like this, halfway into a decision you already know you won't make? Look at what she's staring at instead. Not the register. The cart corral to her left, where a single abandoned cart has one stuck wheel, juddering faintly every time the air conditioning breathes on it. She fixes on that wheel like it's the most interesting object in the building, because looking at the wheel means not looking at the counter. And not looking at the counter means the counter isn't really there. The number in her head is already softening into a sentence. That's just not the kind of person I am. I don't make a scene over $4. She tries it on. It fits like something bought a size too big on purpose. Then the small, telling move. She pulls the receipt from her right hand and pushes it into her jacket pocket. Unfolded, the paper crumpling into a careless little wad against her hip. Out of sight. Evidence. Buried. She smooths her face into the mild, pleasant blankness of someone who simply finished shopping and has nothing on her mind at all. $4. That's the whole emergency. And she is standing here rehearsing calm like her life depends on losing. So let's cut this open, right here on the mat, while she's still standing in it. Here's the story she's telling herself. And it's a good one, the cleanest one available. This is just her personality. She's the low drama one, the person who doesn't sweat the small stuff, who can let $4 go without a second thought, because she has bigger things to care about and a longer view than the kind of person who'd turn around. It sounds like maturity. It sounds like a girl who answered a hard question about herself years ago and made peace with the answer. And honestly, you almost believe her. Because the alternative, being the customer who marches back over pocket change, sounds so much smaller, so much needier than the calm, evolved creature she's pretending to be. That's pass 1. That's the surface. Now watch the floor drop out. Because calling it who I am isn't a description. It's a hall pass. If the silence is just her nature, permanent, settled, factory installed, then she never has to do the terrifying thing, which is try the other version and find out she was capable of it the whole time. That's the fear she's actually running from, and it's bigger than any register clerk. It's the suspicion that for as long as she can remember, she wasn't agreeable because she was agreeable. She was agreeable because she was too scared to find out who she'd be if she stopped. The good daughter, the easy one, the girl who never needed managing. She never once got to meet the person underneath because she traded her away. Not in one dramatic sale, but in 1,000 tiny transactions exactly like this one. Each receipt stamped, "Just my personality," and buried in a pocket. And you already know which version of this you did this week. Here's the part that should make you put the bag down. A personality you're never allowed to act against isn't a personality at all. It's a cage she decorated. Every time she files another surrender under "That's just me," she welds one more bar into place, then stands back and admires how cozy it looks, mistaking the smallness of the cell for the shape of her own soul. That's the engine. The silence doesn't end the fear, it feeds it, so the next surrender comes easier and questions itself less. The good child was never a real person. She was a role Emma got so unbelievably good at that she forgot to ever audition for anyone else. And this, the frozen mat, the closing doors, the crumpled receipt, the whole $4 autopsy, this is what the role costs her. Again and again, forever. Right up until the second she notices she is the one signing every check. So here she is, 3 feet of rubber mat, 6 steps of open floor, and 3 exits from the same trap, none of them clean. The first door is the easy one, the one with no friction at all. She simply walks through the sliding doors, out into the parking lot, and quietly threads the whole thing back into the running story she keeps about herself. "I'm just not someone who makes a fuss. I never have been." And the payoff is instant, warm, almost chemical, a soft flood of self-approval, the specific comfort of a blueprint confirmed instead of questioned, proof that she is exactly the low-maintenance creature she always claimed. But the invoice mails itself out slowly, in the smallest font, because every time she files a surrender under "That's just my nature," the next one gets easier to file and harder to ever question, and the walls close in another 1/4 inch. The private lie is that this is a value she holds and not a fear she serves, that she chose the silence instead of being chosen by it. And the one who pays isn't the cashier, isn't the store. It's the future version of her, the one who'll inherit a whole life full of rooms she decided not to speak in. Every single one of them stamped, in her own handwriting, "Just who I am." The second door burns to even look at. She pivots on the mat, walks the 6 steps back, the longest 6 steps in the building, and says the sentence out loud. "Hey, sorry, I think I got charged twice for something." And for one strange second, there's a violent little thrill in it. The electric shock of contradicting her own script and not dying. The raw novelty of being, briefly, a girl who came back. But the delayed cost arrives before she's even finished speaking. She is now standing at that counter, fully visible, the customer who returned over $4, while the next person in line shifts their weight behind her, and the cashier has to void the transaction and call someone over. And every second of that little delay feels, to her, like a spotlight she personally switched on. She imagines the line reading it exactly the way she fears. She really came back over $4. There's no rehearsed self left to duck behind, because she just shattered the only one she owned. The lie she'll grab for on the drive home is that it wasn't a big deal, casually shrinking the exact moment that proved she was more than her own performance. And who finally stops paying, just this once, is Emma, the one who just shook hands with a version of herself she'd sworn didn't exist. Have you ever noticed how the door that would actually free you is always the one that looks the most humiliating? Then the third door, the sweetest poison of the three. She leaves without turning around, but she makes herself a promise on the way out. Next time. Next time, when it's something that really matters, something big enough to be worth it, that's when she'll finally speak. The immediate high is that she gets to keep the flattering self-portrait of a brave girl holding her fire in reserve, without ever loading the gun. But the slow cost is a rigged equation, because next time is built from the identical fear as this time, so the price tag on worth it keeps climbing to stay permanently just out of reach. The deferred self never shows up, because the deferring is the whole machine. The lie is, I'm saving it for when it counts. And the one who pays is Emma, still waiting for the occasion big enough to justify being a person. On the exact day, she finally runs out of days. The doors open around her one more time, then close, then open. 3 separate times they part for a girl who will not walk through them, sensing a body, finding only a decision that refuses to be made. The receipt is a crumpled wad in her pocket now, softening, becoming litter. The register is still 6 steps behind her. 6 steps. That's all it ever was. And she does not move. She is still standing there doing the math on a courage she'll spend some other morning, still saving her voice for an occasion that will never, ever feel big enough to earn it. That's the whole story. $4, and a girl who'd rather disappear than be seen wanting them back. The doors are open. The register is right there. The self is still on the shelf, unclaimed. Which one are you walking through?